Welcome back, coaches. This is the Football Coaching Podcast. I am Daniel Chamberlain, co-host, here with Joe Daniel as always.
What's up, Coach?
Coach, it's football season in Oklahoma. That's a lie. It's spring football season in Oklahoma.
Close
Day
enough.
2 of installs, and I know this is 2 weeks late. I don't care. I have been smiling for 48 hours.
Yeah, your spring's like over by the time this comes out, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be the Thursday right before our spring game.
That's right. Yeah.
But Lord have mercy, have I needed this. It has been kind of a doom and gloom off season, but man, having just a ton of fun. And our topic tonight is going to be a lot about install. We're talking progressions and order and pieces of your install. So I can tell you, I am tried and true now. I have an install and it works, and I'm excited for that. And yeah, trial by fire.
Nice. Is that your level up?
Nope, I forgot about level up because I'm on
Forgot
such
about level up. You think
such
about
a
it.
dopamine high from install. It might be it.
I mean, you can install. Like, you get to go back and look at it. Mine.
Sure.
I mean, honestly, I have a couple like the I talked about messing with Microsoft Visio, and it went. And I mean, I finally Sunday night was able to get Visio. It's not in the Microsoft 365 package.
Right.
It's under a different account. It's under a business account, which then has to be connected to my Microsoft 365. And then to down, and I thought that I had 2 trials going at the same time. Thank God I didn't just ignore this, because I would have been charged twice or whatever. I don't know. So Visio is kind of a mess to get. I'm like, just sell it to me in a box. But they don't do that anymore. Everything's
Subscription.
everything's a subscription, and that's fine, because I'm pretty sure the Visio was very expensive, and now it's $10 a month or something like that. So, and I'm able to share it with one of my assistants, who is he handles a lot of our customer support and stuff, but he also is like yourself, he is a graphic design enthusiast, and looking to get into that. And I'm like, well, we can, this is kind of graphic design. So I got into it, and it is a lot more work intensive, and I am questioning whether or not it is really worth this. It's not worth it for me to do it.
Right.
I may put our playbook together in it just to have the experience, put our offensive playbook for my team together in it just to have the experience. I think it will look beautiful. And I just don't know if Playmaker doesn't look as good, but it's so much easier, and it doesn't look bad. So I've gotten that done. I'll tell you the other one is, last week was a very tough week. We talked last week. My dog, I put my dog down on Monday. My aunt died on Thursday. So I went up Thursday to Alexandria. This was a unexpected one, right? This was 2 weeks ago. She was in Alexandria getting ready to get on a plane out of Dulles or Reagan, one of them, fly out of DC to Budapest, Hungary, and go on a trip, traveling. And had some issues before, and all of a sudden she couldn't walk. Went, checked in the hospital, and up until Monday we were expecting her, she's going home. And Tuesday that changed, and the chances got very bleak. And then Wednesday so Thursday I went up. She was, she couldn't talk or anything, but she knew we were there. Went up, saw her, and got to say bye. And she died before I got home from Alexandria, which is about 2 hours, because it was 5 o'clock on Friday. 2.5 hours, I guess. So not a lot got done last week.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's okay. And so Sunday, and I've had to make this distinction because of the amount of things that I have to do with work, is football is not, my coaching is not necessarily work. So I don't do any of them on Saturday, but on Sunday I will, obviously we have our staff meetings and stuff like that, and film watching. And I have to compartmentalize that from the business, and not let them bleed in and go, well, now I'm watching film, I might as well go in and check email. And like, all of a sudden my Sunday is just another weekday. So try to avoid that. But so I did get Visio going, got that working. But I'll tell you, Monday we did, because with athletic speed and movement, we were on week 7. We were on week 7. Last Monday we did week 7, and then we were supposed to do the second day of week 7 on Thursday, and obviously that didn't happen. So I decided we were only going to be able to do one day this week. May is crazy. So Monday I did day 7, week 7, day 2, which is the same day, just repeated. But I will say this, because I almost didn't do it. I was almost like, well, let's just go on to week 8. And then what's going to end up happening with this is I'm going to have to run two separate paths, right?
Yep.
We're going to finish these guys on week 12 of the progression, and they're going to go on to something else. And then I'm going to have all of our other guys come in and start on week 1. And so we're going to be doing something else, lateral movement, something else. And then the other, with the guys that have been there, and then the guys that are coming from baseball and the guys that are coming from track, they're going to be on a different path. But I will say this, I almost went on to week 8 and I decided, we have time. I'm not worried about it. The second day of day 7 was incredible. Or the second of week 7. The second day of week 7 was like, so it's a lateral weave that I tried to do to get some film of it on day 1 of week 1 with our guys. And even one who had been through it before we, we were going from like memory. And then we didn't do it right. And I tried to do it with them just to get the film. I was like, well, it won't look good, but I'll have the film and we'll do something with it. And they couldn't do it. And we go through, and day 1 last week was kind of like, okay, like we got through it. The second time we did it, which again, there was a whole week apart. And I love our kids, but I don't think they're going home and practicing lateral weaves. The second time that we did it, the second day, a whole week apart, was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, they flew through a lateral weave, which is not easy at all. I mean, everything about it was incredible. And then at the end of week 7 is the first time that you actually load up and run fast. It's a fast shoulder sprint. So it's just as fast as your shoulders can move, because we focus on the shoulder there, and they like just phenomenal. So I'm really excited about our speed program, as I have been, and I've always loved it. But this working with Dale, and obviously I get to talk about it with him every week, working with Dale, but getting all of the, we were going off memory from 2011 and 2016, the 2 times that Dale flew in, and getting to work with Dale, getting all of this stuff put together and put into one place. And hitting all of the little details that absolutely matter has been phenomenal. It's night and day, running the program right now compared to, the last couple of years.
Right. Well, that's awesome. Well, man, condolences for your aunt. I hate losing family members, and I hate when people around me lose family members, because that's already, I don't know. Just life is so short as it is, and then those things happen. So
I am the guy who cannot go to funerals. Now I will. This is my aunt. I'll be there. Most of the time, I choose not to go to funerals, because if it doesn't matter my relationship with them. It doesn't even matter if I know them, quite frankly. The concept of this being there being an end, and I do believe in, afterlife and heaven, all that stuff, but that it's an end to something, and I just can't handle it. And so I will be in a funeral. Well, I try not to go, and my wife supports that because I'm a mess. I will be in a funeral, and I will be just totally distraught. People will be coming up to me afterwards at the, wake. And I'm so sorry. You must have really cared about such and such. And I'm like, well, of course I say, like, thank you. I barely know them.
right.
Barely know them.
Emotional weddings and funerals, man. They do
Yeah.
weird things to our internals.
So we need Friday nights to scream and yell and get emotions out in a different way.
Right. So I guess you know, my level up I really can be my install. It's been fun working with another coach to Cameron Palmer over at Bristow High School, which he's came on the other show that I do, and he's helped me a ton this year just working through his. But he's going from the freshman OC position at Bixby, and now
Yep.
he's the varsity. And although he's been at small schools before, but we're both going through that like, my God, this used to be so easy. I got all this stuff in, and now these guys can't fathom what we're doing here, or right. And so the install schedule we looked at originally, and we're gonna kind of get in the topic here a little bit, but I even looked at it and went, man, that's a lot. And he was like, we do it every year, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he understood, but I think there was that. Kenny Ridley always says, whatever you expect them to learn, they'll learn, right? And so I made mine just a little bit lower than his. Like, okay, if that's what he's going to try to get in, and he's the pro at this, I'm going to go less than that and try to get it all in. And then after talking to him, I was like, here's my day one. He was like, oh, you're doing way more than me. Damn you, coach. Like, I made this to be less than you. So, but man, yeah, knocking that finally, about a month ago, I actually sent an email today about organization and for our athletic speed movement side, and just letting other people help you be organized, right? You don't have to take on all that crap yourself, which was the big point of that email, is hire a professional.
Right.
But I set our spring up for success about a month ago when I put all this together. And then I've just been able to kind of move things around, massage the schedule a little bit, if you will, as we've gotten closer and I got more antsy and less confident. And, but yeah, it's gone really, really well. So I guess my level up is just that, what did I do to be a good coach? And it's just having a realistic understanding of all new staff. My first time as an OC, a lot of the kids they're all learning a new system. Some of them are new to the school. There's just so many new things there, not overdoing it. Learning a new defense at the same time with a new DC, so that's it. Just understanding the simplification, putting things in buckets, all the things that we preach on this podcast, I've done with my install schedule. And I think it's really the first 2 days, people, head coach and everybody else has just really talked about how well it's flowing, and just watching the kids pick it up. So yeah. Other thing I'll mention, and it's kind of getting to pay the bills a little bit here, and I know we'll move on to talk. We're not on a super big timeline tonight, so we're kind of good to talk. But I am almost finalized. I get kind of a level up here too with the Sulphur Strong fundraiser football clinic. For those of y'all that don't know, maybe you didn't listen last week or whatever, but Sulphur is a small town, like 2A, 1A Oklahoma football generally. They've been 3A a few times, but they got hit by not one but two tornadoes in the same night and decimated their town. And so I'm from down there. I grew up and played at Lone Grove, which that's all South Central Oklahoma. So I realize those names mean nothing to most of you. The few that listen from the state, thank you guys for being here, but it will mean something to you guys. Anyway, it just hit me really hard. It was just like, man, that's basically our neighbors, and I wanted to do something. So I started throwing together this clinic, and Joe's agreed to speak, and Kenny Simpson off the other podcast. He's just Kenny off the other podcast now. That's pretty funny. Look at that. Networking and relationships. But I finally locked in Nick Caduti from down in Texas. He's going to jump on and talk some duo. Coach Blankenship's coming on it's Bill Blankenship, just retired at Owasso this year. He's gonna come on. He's kind of our big premier speaker. He'll be the last one to talk about just building a winning culture, expecting to win. So just so many names, man. There's so many I can't remember them all right now. Just a lot of good guys, a lot of big school, small school, offense, defense. It's going to be great. Justin Tavio is going to speak for us. So lots of fun things. And I might even get to talk to an OU softball player of legendary proportion. Lauren Chamberlain is a proposed guest speaker with our NIL guy. So yeah, man, it's just been really cool to build that. So I think that's helped, just organizing that and making me better in the future at maybe planning big clinics. Joe, I've tried to talk you into that many times. Let's go do JDFB clinics. So now I've got a little more experience at doing that. But just as a coach, man, I know I'm going to get in set talk with this network of guys and really learn that much more football. So it's been pretty cool. So if you want to participate in that, sulphurstrong.coachesclinic.com. I don't even know what the price. I think we're at $20 or $25 a ticket. It's not very much for a hell of a lineup, and you get access for a year, I think, so you can watch it on replay. But there you go. Do you want to sell JoeDanielFootball.com/rules?
Nah.
Good, I guess. Okay. Part 1. What a weird segue. I'm just so excited about spring ball. I can't quit thinking about football, and I'm just so excited to talk about it. So, talking install schedule. So, for those of y'all that don't have one, the very simple thing is you gotta have a way to get everything installed. Your system has got to be taught to at least your kids, but most likely your kids plus some number of coaches. And if you're just going out there willy nilly trying to run through some stuff, please don't do that. Call me, email me. I will help you for free, because please don't do your kids that way. So question 1 here is, what are the key pieces of an install schedule? Keeping it kind of just vague here, offense or defense?
Well, it's really, we're talking about how you put this together. Really is what it comes down to. And I mean, the key piece is what we want to do is we want to just in general, the way that we want to divide up an install schedule. And if you're a JDFB Platinum member, then you've got access to a web clinic. I think we did, where we talked about designing your install schedule. Of course, we have install schedules for all of our systems, but also we have, just a general design. So if you're not using our systems or one of our systems, or you're creating some sort of Frankenstein monster, that install schedule is important for you. And basically what we do is we, across the top, we've got day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. Now I believe in a 5-day install, which is the first week. And that 5-day install, the goal is at the end of that 5 days to have the core, the base installed. And you talked about in your spring, stretching it a little bit with an extra, a couple extra review days in there, which is good. And you may be able to do that in the fall as well, depending on what your schedule looks like. If you've got 3 weeks of practice before you have a scrimmage, or like our coaches in Illinois don't have a scrimmage, right? It's just, there may not be any sort of rush. Right. I've had years where the 5th day was scrimmage day. So it's like, close to it. And it's like, all right, we got to get this stuff in. Because and that's because of I refused to start before August 1st. And so I just I won't do it. That was a very experienced group. It wasn't the 5th day, it was like the 6th day, but that was a very experienced group, and I was fine. Wasn't worried about it. But it wasn't the 5th day, but it was the first day in pads, full pads. So nobody was going out there that didn't know how to tackle. I can tell you that. But we, across, if you make a chart, make a install chart, put day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5 across the top, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, depending on what day you start on. And then down the side, you put your positions. So you're talking about, on an offense, you're talking about quarterback, running back, HY, for us be H and Y, be wide receivers, X and Z, and then offensive line. For our defense, it might be defensive line, linebackers, safeties, corners. And of course, it depends on your system. 3-4 is a little more complex, and all those sorts of things. So, then you need to break that down. The way that we break that down next is by position, run and pass. So either run and pass scheme or run and pass defense. And the reason we do that is because of the way that we break down practices, and the way that almost everybody breaks down practices, right? We have indie time, and I think one of the mistakes we make is we have indie time, and then we have 7-on-7, and we have 9v9, and then we have team. Or you go, smaller, you might go team pass, team run, and then a mix or something like that. We almost all of us divide things up. And you might have screen periods, play action periods. We do all, we divide it up how we do. But, ultimately it comes down to we've got almost everybody's running some sort of Pascal 7-on-7 So that's a pass group period. And then you've usually got some sort of a run group period, maybe half line, maybe inside drill, outside drill, whatever it is, 9v9, whatever it is that you do. But the mistake we make in our practice planning is we practice plan indie, which leads to doing dumb stuff that doesn't relate to the field, right? Leads to us running chutes and hoops and ladders and stuff, and not worried about how does this happen on the field. We end up doing, as we've talked about before, these things fall into three categories. There's agilities, there are football drills, and there's conditioning. And if you don't specifically say these are drills that need to be done to defend the run, these are drills that need to be done to defend the pass, you're going to end up with coaches doing agilities and conditioning and toughness drills. Bro, we this is football now. You should have gotten that crap out of the way in June, or preferably February, if you really wanted to do it.
Yeah.
We've got to be working on football now. If you want, that doesn't mean we don't condition. That means you don't ever do agilities. We do speed work and we do some conditioning. Conditioning is kind of it's almost like a leadership thing more than anything else, because it's always in the hands of the squad leaders or seniors or whoever it is. But so then you break it down and you say, okay, quarterback, run game, and pass game install. And so as we start to break this down, we end up with our 5 days, and we end up with 10 sections underneath on offense, 8 sections underneath on defense. And we start to look at our install in that way. And we're going to have a run indie and pass indie time for this stuff. A lot of our pass indie just becomes 7-on-7. It kind of gets melded together, and then offensive line gets their indie work. But that as you put together an install schedule, that's the way that you figure it out. And then what that does is it helps you look and go, okay, I'm overloading. As you start to say, I want to install this, and I want to install this, and I want to do this, and I want to have this, and you start to schedule it out, and you realize, oh, I'm trying to install these things that are overloading my receivers or overloading my offensive line. More commonly, I'm overloading my linebackers is a big concern, right? Because they have a lot of pass responsibilities and a lot of run responsibilities. Same thing with safeties. So, I can't put in a bunch of blitzes and another coverage and expect my safeties to be ready for all that. Right. I can't put in a new front and a blitz and a coverage because my linebackers are learning two run things with the change up front and the blitz, and then the pass coverage. So, they got two run things and a pass thing, or if it's pass blitz, it's fine. It's 1 and 2. So we don't want them to have to learn a bunch of stuff in a day, but we can compartmentalize this to where, okay, and this is the way that I would practice plan too, because all this works better. We're going to go run indie, and you're going to teach them this thing, teach them the skills they need to do new thing they're learning in run game. Then we're going to go to run group, and we're going to do our 9v9 or, half line or whatever. And then, so it's compartmentalized. I'm working these drills to do this thing. And then I'm going to go pass indie, and I'm going to teach them the things that they need to do the new pass stuff. And then we're going to go pass scale 7-on-7 or pass pro 1-on-1s or whatever it is, or go through our pass pro. And then we'll go to team and we'll put it all together. And even team is going to be compartmentalized, especially early. Team is going to be, we're going to do power counter series, 5 reps of it. We're going to do, play action, 5 reps. So we're going to compartmentalize team at least until Wednesday on game weeks. Even Monday, Tuesday is going to be compartmentalized. And that helps. I think that helps everybody learn it. But it keeps you from overloading guys, and it lets you see, okay, sometimes you can see like, hey, our defensive line doesn't have anything today. We could put in, with everything that we're doing, we're putting in a coverage and we're thinking that's a big deal. We're putting in a blitz and we're thinking that's a big deal, but none of it affects the defensive line. Then we go, hey, we could have the defensive line learn a slant today. Right. And so we can get one more thing in with them and work it that way, so that, or maybe we just say, look, hey, the defensive line's getting a review day today. and that's fine. So that's how we build the install schedule. And then the next step of it is, which we can go into, but the next step of it is then working backwards. So we've got to identify what is the day that I need everything installed. Because the 5-day install is cute and all, I like it. But ultimately, it comes down to what is the day that I have to have everything. Normally for us, we've got a week, and then we're essentially in game week, right? But we got our first scrimmage coming up. Second week, first scrimmage. Sometimes we have more time. Sometimes we might have 3 weeks or 2 weeks, and then scrimmage week. Scrimmage is usually on Thursday too, early on because we're in summer and stuff. And we can do that kind of scrimmage on Thursday, early practice on Friday, and everybody gets one more week of summer. One more weekend of summer to take a vacation or whatever.
Right.
Come back on Monday. But you go to whatever that day is and you say, what do I want to have done? What do I want to have available? If you really know your system, you know your core, you know the things you have to have. Like I don't need to go through that discussion with any of our systems. I can tell you right now, this is the things that you need to have, that I need to have, that you need to have, or whatever, depending on what your situation is. Boom, 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 I already know it. But if you're learning a system, if you're coming into a system, you need to establish that, figure it out, and then go from there.
So I did my my skeleton build out a little bit different than you this year, and thinking to the fall, I really need to combine these two processes because I need to ensure I'm not putting too many things on each position group. But so I just took a full menu. I basically took my full system, wrote out all the words, right, however we're calling those calls, those tags. And you can do this on defense as well. But basically, I just got the whole system in a menu, literally on an Excel sheet, and then went day by day and we installed things, right? So I'm on the offensive side, so I wanted to put in a run play and a pass play each day.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got some other fancy tags we're doing for certain blocking rules with like our H-backs. Having an RPO or two installed pretty early, and then a run read option. So in day one, for instance, we put in inside outside zone because I put it in containers and I taught my O line the count doesn't change, your steps change. It's ugly right now. And I expected that because we've had no indie time. I'm teaching an O line coach as I go because my head coach wants me to be the floater, which 100% concur and it makes sense.
Good situation to be in.
Absolutely.
Because you can see how it's being done.
Exactly.
You don't get surprises.
And so we put that into a bucket. Well, then what's pretty common to run off the backside of that will give the quarterback something to do besides hand off. And so we put in a read, right? So now we're inside outside zone read. Got our split zone blocking added so that we can change up inside zone look. And then an RPO. So my wide receivers didn't waste their entire, because I'm installing this with the team. The staff doesn't know it well enough to go into an indie install. And so now my wide receivers are getting to block and catch a bubble and go do things. We actually even installed, because tight ends were kind of lacking. They had that one blocking adjustment. So we installed a tight end RPO, right? So we were able to build all that out because I laid it all out. It was like kind of what you did, I guess. And that's why I say doing it your way would even clean this up more. During the run, we all had something to do. I guess in my head, I just didn't want anybody standing around. I was thinking less about overload and more about boredom. And then we went into the pass, and then of course, O-line, because I used the JDFB zone blocking and count system. So they didn't really have anything else to learn, right? They're just counting. Don't count that front side inside backer. Somebody else is responsible for him, and let's go to work. And so it was very easy for them. They got to continue working counting, and then we just worked the install for that pass play. So that went really well, and I think I will continue doing that in the future because now I know what I've already installed. If I want to add an RPO to my gap scheme day, I know if I have that one installed or not, right? So it's made things very, very easy. I can tell the kids. I actually used Loom and recorded day by day installs of the playbook, me talking through it. So because I had it so regimented and it just, man, it helped everything kind of flow. I did talk to Ron Mackey before we kind of got started with that install, and he talked about the 3-day install, right? And that's the big air raid. If you can't do it in 3 days, but now they've even changed, Joe. It's funny you said 5 is pretty, but we know we need a little more time. They've taken 3-day, made it 6 days, so they have a repeat day. I do everything in day 1, and I have day 1 again, right? And then day 2 again. And because he said it helped them learn more fast, more things more quickly. So I think everybody's getting to that point. They understand you're not doing anything in 3 days.
No, I mean, yes and no. If you look at our pistol power offense system install, as you said, like in 2 days, the bulk of the run game is in, right? Like you said, inside outside zone is in day 1, power counters in day 2. They're the same blocking scheme. That's also going to be our protection scheme with the count system. So that goes in day 1 because they learn a run thing and a pass thing.
Yep.
Does it look good? No. But we have 16, 18 weeks now to polish.
Right.
So really for us, the only run play going in is truck toss, which changes one guy, 2 guys,
Yep. It's
right?
basically a tag, right?
It's a tag. Yeah. It's a pin and pull tag, but everybody from the guard back is doing outside zone. Only the tackle and the Y or the H or whoever it is, really we formation it more than anything. And the backfield, it's a toss, so it's new for the quarterback and the running back. But that's in. It's not hard. It's like I said, it's essentially a tag. It's off of the same blocking scheme. We day 1, maybe different now, but usually we do a 3-step and a 5-step, right? And that's easy because of 7-on-7. So we'll go hitch, we'll go 60-61, and we'll go 56-57. Usually curl is the one we're going to go with. And so curl flat. And once you have those in, as we talk about in our system, all the throws are the same, right? All the 3-step throws hit the same spot. All of the 5-step throws hit the same spot. The reads are, it's either a horizontal stretch, a vertical stretch, or an object receiver. That's it. That's our concepts. So once you've taught those concepts, in 2 days we can get a horizontal stretch and a vertical stretch, and an object receiver means throw the ball to the guy that we tagged. So that's a wheel, for example. We tag curl wheel, throw the wheel. We saw something, throw the wheel. That's object receiver. And so we get those concepts in, day 1, day 2. And it's like, well, we get a vertical stretch and a horizontal stretch, and we're that's it.
Yeah.
We've pretty much got it. So you can get a lot done, but exactly what you said, it's semantics now. Like, it's not done. What I don't like, some people like it, some people don't, and I understand the concept behind it, is the idea of, and a lot of coaches like this, the idea of we're going to install one thing and we're not going to install a second thing until we get this one right.
Right.
What's our criteria for right?
Yeah.
Because with an experienced group, it'll look right in about 10 minutes. If I go back to when I was at Amelia, and I had the same offensive line for 3 years in a row. They were all freshmen, sophomores. It looked atrocious week 1. We did the same install. We did the same install again when they were sophomores and juniors. We did the same install again when they were juniors and seniors. And I can tell you that on day 1, when they were juniors and seniors, it looked right.
Yeah,
it was right. And I tried when they were juniors, and these are smart kids too. A lot of them, not all of them. When they were juniors, they're all good kids though. When they were juniors, I tried to do the thing where when we install the count system, I tell them not to worry about covered, uncovered rules, just count. And then they discover the need for covered uncovered because you can't get to certain guys by yourself. A linebacker scrapes, you can't get to him, and so you have to bump that guy off. Outside zone is really easy to see.
Start working doubles, right?
Yeah, and you wait until they start asking those questions, and you go, okay, let me show you how to solve this. You let them find out they need the solution, and then it's easier to sell them the solution.
I wanted to do that this year, and I just couldn't. It was like, you need to let your kids fail, but also you love them so much, and I don't want to watch
Well,
them
I don't.
scrape with me. So I taught them doubles, and we're still struggling there, but
You're going
it's
to.
day 2.
When we do this with middle school, they don't. Now, I recommend to a lot of our coaches don't even mess with it. Run wedge.
Yeah.
But run power counter, wedge, and toss. But with our middle school, if they're running inside zone, it's just 1, 2, 3 it. On paper, and again, this is middle school level. This is your high school varsity level. With the middle school guys, first of all, the wins and losses don't go in the paper. But the fact of the matter is, you'll get way more success out of them knowing how to count to 3 than trying to teach them covered, uncovered, and getting lost. If they can just know which guy they're supposed to block, you're ahead of the game in middle school, right? I mean, that's why wedge is so great. Is there's no count; it's just go. But yeah, I mean, the idea that you have to then establish a criteria for when it's right, and then what's the next thing, and what if we only now again, I don't like that. We did that at Ellsworth. We went in to play Georgia Military College with one running play. Now, we had it was a zone read, and we had the most dynamic quarterback in the league.
That helps.
Our defense just couldn't stop them. I think we lost 31-30. But that helps a lot. We had a couple of pass concepts, but it was just like, that was in that situation, that might have been a great decision because, again, we weren't allowed in the offensive meetings. This may be my hatred of two platoon. I wasn't allowed to know anything the offense was doing. I had to figure it out on my own, get intel from our offensive line coach. Actually, no, it was from the running backs coach. And but that may have been a great decision because you had superior talent and don't get in their way. That always makes sense.
Yeah.
But I just, there's kind of always been two schools of thought. One is we're going to do this on this day. In the teaching world, which you and I both come from, there's the idea of coverage versus teaching it. You either cover it or you teach it. So like we have Virginia, when I was a teacher, I guess we still do. We have Virginia SOLs, standards of learning tests. And we legitimately taught to the test because that was our job.
That's everybody, unfortunately.
It is. And it's because the people who are making these decisions have no freaking idea what they're doing. It's the dumbest thing in the world to teach to this test. But coverage, I have this book of things that have to be taught by this date. And so I don't have the option to stop and say, no, we need to really dive in and understand this topic. I have to cover it, and then I'll review the piss out of it for this multiple choice test down the road, and hopefully you'll have heard it, and it'll kind of spark a thought.
Yeah.
And so what we end up doing is covering it, then doing a study guide, then doing a test, and then going over the test, and then coming back, going over these things again, and doing 2 weeks of study guides to get ready for this stupid thing, and doing mock tests and doing all that crap just because we just covered it. We didn't teach it. In football, that's not the case. I want to cover it because I want everything to be familiar to you. And then I'm going to teach it, like I said, for the next 16, 18 weeks.
Yep. I think that's two different ways of doing things. And I've heard you talk about it. Of course, Kenny Simpson talks about it with me. And because I started reaching out to my people.
If I had to guess.
Do what?
Kenny's probably wrong.
Oh, well, he says the same thing we say. So.
Oh. I'm gonna start a like a rivalry with Kenny or something. Like,
I'll help you get it started.
yeah, like I'm gonna find something he
I'll
does that I don't
I'll
like.
bad talk both
Every
of
time I
you
talk to
on
him, it's
each
like,
end.
"Yeah, yeah, we do that too," but I'm like, I wanna find something that he does that I don't like and just be like, "Well, that's stupid. You can do it Kenny Simpson's way, whatever. Just
I love it.
go ahead and lose a bunch of games. Do it Kenny's way."
Uh, so he kind of like enforce that, get it all in, let it look ugly, polish it up, trim the fat
You
later.
got time.
And then I'll tell you, if I was on defense though, I would almost be the opposite, and I have been historically because I
I
want
don't
to get. We've
I don't
we've started
disagree.
kind of talking more offense here, but defensively, I want my base, and I want to be able to align to every dumb thing that the offense wants to do and run my base
So
with
what usually are if we're doing a simple install with kids who haven't run this stuff before, you're talking about 3 fronts, right? Let's say 425 install. Our 3 fronts are gonna be over, G, and Indy, which moves 1 guy,
right.
right? Everybody else is doing the same thing. The tackle moves from an outside shade to an inside shade, or whatever. The nose moves from an outside shade to an inside shade. That's it. You're like you take that and you look at, like you said, if all that I install is the base, well, I still have one guy who has to learn how to play on a tight end or without a tight end. I have
Right.
two because the defensive end's got to learn how to play two tights, right? So we're already doing that with the ends. Let's do it with you know, my linebackers have already got to learn essentially a different front because if you go trips and we want to slide to the trip side to protect against some RPOs, they're sliding over one. So those fronts are everybody's just got one adjustment. Some of them are created by what the offense does. Some of them are created by our call.
Yeah.
The defensive tackles are never going to have to slide. I mean, they are actually because we're going to do a heavy check, right? So all that stuff's things that have to be there. Same thing with the blitz. We can run our base blitzes, and they don't change anybody but one guy, and he blitzes. Now we have to teach them how to blitz. And I've had schools that just didn't do that; they just ran the base. We got 2 coverages because we need a change up of some sort. Although if you were really rough or if you were really young, I might just go cover 3 and call it a day.
Just run it.
Just we're going to be great at cover 3, and I kid you not, I have teams that have just been great at cover 3, and they've gone a long way with it, like rounds of the playoffs,
Yeah.
and been cover 3. They got to cover 1, maybe not, but
It's a
they don't
good
run it
coverage.
much.
There's nothing wrong with
Um,
cover 3.
and I've had teams that didn't blitz; they ran base 4-2-5 cover 3 and ran the crap out of it. And you guys that think you can't do it, you're right. You probably can't at a 6. I don't know what the levels are in Texas, but let's say 6A. I'll just go with it. Let's say that's the big schools in
That sounds
Texas.
right.
Let's say you're in Dallas at a big school. You probably can't get away with just running spot drop cover 3. I agree. I don't work with you.
Right.
I grew up in Atlanta. I grew up in Marietta at a 6A. You probably can't get away with cover 3. You can't go play Walton with a cover 3. I guess. I don't even know what they run, but I'm going to assume it's not going to be great. And I don't work with you. So you can listen to the podcast, and I love having you here. And eventually, maybe if you work on one of those staffs, you're going to go get a job like Daniel did. You're going to go from that 6A to that 1A or 2A when you get that head job.
Little 2A, baby. Let's go.
Little 2A. And then if you get your first job at a little 2A that is getting all 2A'd up every year, installing a spot drop cover 3 is going to be the best thing you can do for them.
Absolutely.
And that's who I work with. I work with small, medium-sized schools. I work with teams with small staffs, with inexperienced staffs, and you got one guy working his butt off and 2 guys that can ride the bus, hopefully, and while you work on football, and and in those cases we can be very simple. And I agree completely that the defensive install may still be 5 days. I always because I like to zone blitz. We may get one zone blitz in, and that's on teams that are ready for it, but we may not. It may never happen. And in that case, what's your 5th day? Usually our 6th and 7th day are like goal line. It's like, all right, because you have to have that, right? There's no way around. You got to have some sort of goal line front.
Yeah.
So, all right, goal line bumps up to day 5. It's still 5 days.
We're kind of going to get into the second part here, and that's why does your install schedule matter? And I'll start here, and that's
We're gonna go second. We're gonna go part 2, part 3 real fast.
Yes. Yeah.
I
I think that
we've hit all the.
we have the install schedule matters because you can't put the cart before the horse, if you will, right? You just went through defense, right? We're going to install a base blitz. Well, I can't teach a guy to blitz. I can. I guess I actually absolutely can teach a guy to blitz before I teach him how to play base. But it doesn't make any sense.
Try. Yeah.
You can try. And so defensively, I think it matters because you have to, like I said, you got to be able to answer the call, whatever the offense throws at you. You know what's the new famous ninja formation, right? If your guys aren't comfortable in base, any little thing can throw them off. Motion, right? Our offense is going to use a crap ton of motions. I'll move 2 or 3 people before every snap. If you don't have your base, you're not comfortable in it. You're just trying to run 1,000 coverages and fronts and blitzes. That stuff is where I hope you do. Honestly, I hope you try to run 7 coverages this year and play me. I'm gonna love that because your kids are never gonna know what they're doing. Offensively,
Works fine against lesser talent, by the way.
yeah.
So
Offensively, your install schedule matters because I think this is where you identify. Here's what we're gonna hang our hat on. We are going to be power counter team. We are going to be a zone team because you got to get that stuff in first and then have your answers after that, right? Now we've got in power counter. What are we going to do if they're, chasing us down from the backside every time? Well, we know we're going to have some type of an answer to that problem. What are we going to do? What is it everybody says? Rick Stewart's always, I think it was you that said he just always wants somebody calling out who made the play, right?
yeah,
And then
he just wants to know who made the tackle.
yeah, and he has an answer
He
for it already.
memorizes the starting 11.
Yeah.
And he just
And
call out the number of
has
the
an
guy that made
answer
the
for
tackle.
every player, right? And so if you don't get your base in, you can't put in the answers. And so I think that's why it really matters. It teaches the kid this is what we are going to do because it shows them what's important. To us, it's motions, formations. Guys, we're going to run like 7 plays, but we're going to tag the dickens out of it with a 1,000 ways to, you know what I mean? Death by 1,000 cuts. I'm not going to beat you with counter. I can't beat you with counter. Counter is one of the oldest plays in football. You're going to know how to stop my counter, but can you do it to 35 formations? That's where I'm going to get you. I got to outsmart your 14 to 17-year-old kid, maybe 18, right?
Without outsmarting your guys.
Without outsmarting my guys, right? So I think that's why the install schedule matters.
We use a principle, which is you got to start right to finish right. And the finish being the kickoff of week 1. We're talking install schedule. The finish of install schedule is not the state championship game. You don't have until then to install. It will be too late. You may still be installing things as you need them, but your install schedule is what do I need the kickoff of week 1. And so in order to finish right, have the playbook ready, have my guys ready to execute with confidence, play fast on day 1 or on game 1, first quarter. I have to have a plan to start right. And starting right means I install the right things day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5.
Yep.
And then I go to polish and get those things. We install, you mentioned you install the things that are important or whatever. And this is just from learning. This is from experience of running our offensive system, our one-back system, our pistol power offense for a long time. I used to always, at first, I thought we'd install power first because power is the feature play, my favorite play, all of those things. And then realizing, well, if we install power first, then I've got to teach the zone count system during pass pro period because we got to install our pass pro day 1. Got to have some sort of pass protection.
Yeah.
And so then it was like, well, we need to install, whether we are going to be good at it or run it a lot or not, we need to install zone day 1. And we'll install our best play on day 2, but it makes sense to install zone count day 1 so that we can then transfer it, as you said, over to our pass and count our half slide protection or counter slide protection if we want to do that. And then through experience, I learned we don't get to decide what the good play is going to be.
That's true.
Because I've had years where it's power. Power's always been good, but it has not always been our best play. Counter has never been the best play for me, but other coaches who run our system have had years where counter was the best play. Outside zone has been our best play at times, and recently inside zone has been our best play. And I've talked about it many, many times. There's no logical reason why inside zone should be our best play, because I have worked with some of the most inexperienced, smallest, weakest offensive lines at this school. And that's not all of them, obviously, but a lot of times it's been a patchwork of putting together an offensive line. Some years, I had a really inexperienced offensive line, but they managed to play 10 games, basically. I had a little bit of experience, and I ended up playing 8 or 9 guys because, they just started getting hurt and things. And that's the way it happens. Both of those times, though, inside zone was our best play.
Yeah.
And for various reasons, it may also be the threat of the quarterback and those kinds of things, and just improving a play. But I don't get to determine that. So I just got to get it in and then let it sort itself out. That's why I don't like the idea of installing one play, because I don't know if that's going to be the play. I don't know if that's going to be the best play or not.
That has been my answer for so maybe this is your thing against Kenny. Here's the rivalry. He's Buck, and we're going to run Buck. And that's what we're going to run as Buck. And we're going to run
play.
1,000 variations of Buck. And then we're going to run pin pull, because it's the next thing. It's a wide Buck to him. I mean, that's kind of how he teaches it, right?
I can't. We run a pin and pull scheme, so I can't on that. But
right. Yeah. So I mean, he's just logging Buck and calls it pin pull.
Yeah.
And then he runs belly. So that's what he runs, and he doesn't want to work with zone, so he doesn't deal with it. And you know what? Zone will never be his best play, because he ain't gonna even try it. So there are guys that live by those rules. But that's I'm sure year one was a little less successful. And then as the years go on, your freshman has now been running Buck Sweep for 4 years. He's a senior, and he's really damn good at Buck Sweep.
A big part of it is, what are you good at teaching too?
Yes. Yeah.
That's going to have a big impact.
That's a really good point. It's kind of why this install matters, is because if you're putting things in containers or buckets, that schedule matters. I don't want to put in my opinion, inside zone on day 1 and outside zone on day 5. It doesn't make any damn sense, right? I'm teaching the same concept. Keep it together. I don't want to install. We put GT and GH counter today, right?
Same play, different guy.
Because it's the same dang play. Now, I also don't want to put GTGH and then wait 5 days to put in a pin pull or a buck or whatever your next thing is. I just want to get them close enough together. Look, guys, it's the same play. I'm tagging to make another guy pull. That's it. Right? So you can kind of get those concepts. So I think that's a little bit more why it matters, is just making sure you're keeping those containers together. I don't want to go out and teach similar topics multiple days apart, and now we're not making those neurons the right way.
Yep.
The last part here, we're just going to cruise through, man. We won't even deal with it. Just how do you progress your offense, defense? We've talked enough about it.
I think we talked heavily on that.
Yes. Get your stuff in and
polish.
That's right. That's what we
formations. You look at, because now we're getting into game plan, right? Now we're getting into look at formations and motions and shifts that are going to break the other defense. On defense, what are the things that you need to stop what they do best? So now we're getting into a whole different thing of, and I think both of us are in the same boat here. And I know we are, and I'm sure as wrong as Kenny is about Buck, which I've never run and really like to play.
It's a stupid play anyway.
It's a stupid play anyway, though.
We love you,
Kenny. That's what I'm going to go with. I'm just going to go with Buck Sweep as a
rivalry weekend.
You don't listen to Kenny Simpson. He thinks Buck Sweep's a good play.
Oh man!
Once we get our base things in, the key is we're not then going to go fishing for more plays. Tags, tweaks, adjustments, formation, shifts, motions, making small adjustments in the, just in general with the defense. Once I get the umbrella established, we're not breaking the umbrella except for some cover zeros and things. But for the most part, we can run a blitz here. We can run an X blitz. We can do little things. If I have bullet strong installed, putting in bullet strong X is not a big deal, because everything else outside of those two guys stays the same. We just cross the tackle, but we're not going to once the core install is done, that's game over. Now, if it ain't working, we know they're good plays, except Buck. We know that I know inside zone, outside zone, power, counter, truck toss are good football plays. If they're not working, it's because we're not teaching it right. We need to do better on that, or we're not formationing it right, or we're not game planning it right. It's something, those are good football plays. We have the right package. We have an inside, we have an off tackle, we have a counter, we have an outside run. I know all of the things are in place. I've got the play action. We're not executing it. Another play isn't going to make us execute better.
Right.
So that's the progression there, is we just go to work on those plays and how we make them better.
Absolutely. Sweet. We'll pay the bills and get out of here, man. Where are we at on bill paying? I don't even remember anymore. JoeDanielFootball.com/rules. Get the PDF with 40 rules that Joe's put together. One of them will help you win a game this year. That's the guarantee. At least one of them. Probably more than one.
Yeah.
You've got non-negotiables. You've got ASCA principles. Lots of things we talked about tonight are going to be on that list. It's the things that you need to be teaching your guys early and often so that you have a way to manipulate your team, your X's and O's when game night hits. It's just a full, like I said, 40 rules to help you become a better coach, to help your coaches be better and your players be better. Win one extra game this year, go get that PDF. One last time, Sulphur Strong, that's SULPHUR, sulphurstrong.coachesclinic.com. Jump over there ASAP. Get you a seat. It's unlimited seating. I'm not going to pretend like there's a limited number of seats. Okay, I want every one of you. To go sign up for $20. The price of I don't know what's for $20 anymore. 6-pack of beer or something, maybe. Right? You can help. You're going to learn so much.
A little more than 6 in Oklahoma, but in New York, yes, you're absolutely right. Probably.
There you go.
A good 6-pack. Well, you buy that.
That
yeah,
fancy
probably
stuff.
is for that stuff.
I'm bougie, baby. Bougie is
Yeah.
the middle name.
6-pack. 6-pack of
tell that
loads
story
of
on
bread
here
beer. Yeah.
Run the wall. The best football minds in the business that I know, the best ones I can make contact with, and that's some of the best ones in the business. So it will not disappoint. Yeah, that's the bills paying. What cells are opening and closing? I lied. This is actually going to come out in 2 weeks, so I will be a week past my spring game. So this comes out the 30th.
That'll be the close of the defensive play caller system this week.
There you go. So jump over, get the defensive play caller system.
JoeDanielFootball.com.
Get it for your buddy.
DPCS, defensive play caller system. JoeDanielFootball.com/DPCS.
Perfect. Social media, I am at Coach Chambo OK on Twitter, Instagram, and I don't know how to get to me on Facebook. I'm on Facebook a little more now because I'm sharing things because that's where a lot of you coaches are. I had no idea how many coaches were just on Facebook still. So, hi, guys. You can email me at chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com. The website may or may not be up, chamberlainfootballconsulting.com. You can jump over there. It's just where I'm putting football stuff if you want to come say hi. Joe, where can we find you, sir?
You can find me at JoeDanielFootball.com or on JoeDanielFootball.com. You can find me at FootballInfo on Twitter, X, at JoeDanielFootball. That's the only one that's weird, I think. At JoeDanielFootball on Instagram, on TikTok. You can find me on Facebook. I believe it's Facebook.com/JoeDanielFootball. That's all of them, right? Nobody else cares about anything else. I don't have a snap face or anything.
Snap face. Oh, I forgot. I don't know if I said it on here yet or not, but I got a Patreon.
Yep.
And my big ticket item is Marco Polo with me. Put yourself in my pocket, hang out, or talk the shit, drink beer together. All on. It's like adult FaceTime. I mean, Snapchat. Like it doesn't go away, and you don't have to answer immediately because it stores them. You know what I mean? You can go back and listen to the conversation. Yeah. But it's kind of a neat deal. So if you really want to just chit chat with me on the often, go over to patreon.com and sign up to be a
patron.
A Patreon. If this is your first time listening to Football Coaching Podcast, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Find us on your favorite podcatcher, SoundCloud. Oh, not SoundCloud. Spotify, Apple Podcast, just to name a couple. Been listening for a while, please leave a review, especially on Spotify and Apple Podcast. We'd love 4 or 5 star. If it's going to be lower than that, we ask you reach out first and let us know why you think we aren't the high-quality podcast you expected. Yeah. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Coaching Podcast. Remember, Coach simple, play fast, win.